You know, I want to talk about something, a really quiet personal struggle. It's not about the tough climb up the mountain. It's about that strange, kind of empty feeling you get when you finally reach the top. Ever felt that? Let's get into it. No, really, think about it for a second. That one moment you've worked so hard for, sacrificed everything for, and then it happens. The deal is done, you've got the degree, the number you dreamed of hits your bank account. And instead of that explosion of joy, there's just quiet, like a hollow space where the party was supposed to be. If you know that feeling, trust me, you are not alone.
See, this feeling isn't some weird personal quirk. A few years ago, it was basically the main topic at this super exclusive event at MIT called the Gathering of Titans. We're talking America's most successful entrepreneurs. And this wasn't some stuffy conference, you know? No golf, no spas. It was just 4 straight days of brutally honest conversations from morning to late at night.
So, on the very first day, someone in the room asks a pretty simple question. He says, "How many of you have achieved your financial goals?" And whoosh, about 80% of the hands in this room full of multimillionaires go right up. I mean, what an amazing picture of accomplishment, right?
But then came the follow-up. While all those hands were still in the air, they were asked a second question, a much deeper question, and you could just feel the energy in the room shift. The question was, okay, but how many of you actually feel successful? And 80% of those hands went down. Just let that sink in for a minute. A room packed with people who, by any definition, had made it, and yet almost none of them felt it. It's like they had the yacht, but they'd completely forgotten the feeling of the open sea.
And that right there, that's the paradox of success. It's that jarring, confusing gap between what the world tells you is success and what you actually feel on the inside. It's the difference between having it all and feeling whole. And that's because achievement and success, well, they're two totally different animals. Achievement is something you can touch. It's a goal you can hit, a box you can check off a list. But success is a feeling. It's a state of being. And man, is it way more slippery. And this is where it all starts to make sense. See, achievement is all about chasing the what. But that feeling of success, that only shows up when you are crystal clear in your pursuit of why, the real reason you're doing any of it. So here's the trap. As we get better and better at the what and the how, that original why, well, it can start to get a little fuzzy around the edges. So let's take a look at what happens when that goes wrong on a huge, huge scale. If you want to see what happens when a why goes fuzzy for a giant organization, you don't have to look much further than the story of Wal-Mart and the guy who started it all, Sam Walton. You see, for Sam Walton, the why was never about just being the cheapest. His whole driving mission was service. He truly believed that if you took care of people, your employees, your customers, your whole community, then they'd take care of you. The low prices, that was just how he delivered that service. But after Walton was gone, that why started to fade, and the company's focus shifted almost entirely to the what, low prices, high margins, period. And the results? They were devastating. The company that was literally built on service became famous for lawsuits over wage violations and for how poorly it treated its own people. The same communities that used to welcome Walmart with open arms started fighting to keep them out. The human cost of forgetting their why was just huge. This whole thing actually has a name. It's called the split. It's that really dangerous moment when the growth of what you do, your revenue, your size, your impact, starts to outrun the clarity of why you're doing it in the first place. It's when your megaphone gets louder, but your message just gets blurry. So how do we stop this from happening? How do we hold on to that clarity, especially when things are going well? Let's break down 3 lessons that apply to pretty much everyone. And I really want you to think of this as a kind of personal coaching session, no matter where you are on your path. All right, lesson 1 is so simple, but it is so profound. We all live by this idea that what gets measured gets done. So if the only things we're measuring are revenue, profits, or milestones, guess what we're going to focus on? To keep our why clear, we have to find a way to actually measure it. Okay, get this for a real-world example. There was a collections agency, whose why was to treat people with respect. So what did they measure? Not the dollars they collected. They measured the number of thank you cards their agents sent to the people in debt. The result? They collected 300% more than the industry average. They measured their purpose, and the profit just followed. Okay, lesson 2 is all about balance. Your why is the passion, right? It's the fire that starts everything. But passion on its own can burn out. It needs structure, the how, to keep it contained and focused. But here's the twist. For that structure to grow and not just become a cold, empty box, it has to be constantly fed by that passion. It's a two-way street. And listen, the reason this matters so much for you is that as you build the systems and processes you need to grow, you have to make sure they're there to serve that original fire, not to put it out. Your how must always, always serve your why. And finally, lesson 3. This one's about legacy. A truly powerful why can't just live in the heart and mind of one person. It has to be said out loud, it has to be shared, and it has to be woven into the culture of the thing you're building so it can be passed on. There's something called the school bus test. I know, it's a little blunt, but it's effective. If you, the founder or the visionary, got hit by a bus tomorrow, would the whole thing carry on with the same purpose? Is your why baked into the culture, or is it still just inside your head? I mean, just look at the difference. Southwest Airlines so deeply built its purpose into its culture that when its leaders changed, the mission didn't skip a beat. Now compare that to Apple or Dell or Starbucks, where the visionary founder left, the why got fuzzy real fast, and the founder literally had to come back to fix things and reignite that original flame.
And this all brings us back to one last really challenging idea. It's the thing that sits right at the very heart of this whole paradox. The single greatest challenge any of us or any organization will ever face, it's not failure, it's success. Because success is what gets you the resources and the scale and all the complexity that puts distance between you and that original, simple, powerful why. Success is what builds the megaphone. And so that's the question I really want to leave you with. As you grow, as you achieve more and more, as your megaphone gets louder and your voice starts to reach more people, is your message, the reason you started this whole journey in the first place, is it still crystal clear?